Hi loves and welcome back to Love What Luck. Hope you're all doing well. Have you ever seen the film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? The concept of the film is two people, Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet, they fall in love, but it just never works. They're not right for each other and they love each other so much, but they just can't get it right. And they break up and the heartbreak is so bad that they go to this program where you're able to erase somebody from your memory. So the whole relationship, the whole person, you're able to just delete them all from your mind and your life. But in the film, they always end up finding each other again because their connection's so strong. So they go through this whole thing and then they somehow always end up back together because they just keep finding their way back to each other. And then it's just a vicious cycle because it just never works and they go round and round again. But it's like the universe can't keep them away from each other. So my question for you is, if you could erase an ex-partner or person from your life and from all of your memories, so it's as if you never ever met them, would you do it? I think we've all had those thoughts before. Usually when you're in breakup mode and you're feeling extra sad and you can say to yourself, or maybe even to them, although savage, but you can say to yourself, oh my God, I wish I'd never met them. I've definitely had a conversation like that with my friends before where I've been going through a breakup. Like a few years ago, I remember I was in the hairdressers and I remember messaging my friend, when you're going through the stick and the hassle of a breakup, and I was like, oh my God, I really just wish I'd never even met this person. But it's tricky because I think you're so consumed with emotion. Your brain and your thoughts are so heavy with emotion that your brain can't really think clearly. It's like I was saying last week, never make a decision when you're sad. But we've definitely had that feeling before because for some reason, even though we were perfectly fine before that person came into our lives, for some reason, one person entering it can leave you feeling completely different when they've gone. And I know there's the saying, you were happy before him, you'll be happy after him, which is absolutely true. But I think when you go through a breakup or something, you almost just want to go straight back to how you were before, but you'll never be that same person. And you wouldn't be that same person even if you were single the whole time. Because every day we grow, we learn new things, we change things about ourselves. You'll be a completely different person than you were 5 years ago, or whether you had a partner, 2, 3 partners, or you stayed single the whole time. You still won't be the same person. But when you've experienced so much with that one person, I think it feels even harder to go back to you because you've grown and experienced so many things with somebody else now. And that just brings a whole different energy, experience. It's just a whole different ball game. Especially if you've married someone, if you've had children with someone, you've gone through such big changes with the person. You've both done it together. So then when you've broken up or that person has left your life, obviously you're just naturally going to feel lost. And I think sometimes we think, oh my God, if I'd never met him, none of this would have happened and I would have still been that happy person that I was 5 years ago. But you'll never ever truly know. And I don't think you ever go back to the person that you were before that relationship, which I think in lots of ways is a good thing. You know, in a relationship, you learn so much about yourself, about the other person, you grow, you know what works, you know what you want, what you don't want. I just think you have to have the view that whatever happened in a past relationship happened for you and not to you. And I know that can be really hard sometimes because some of you, I've seen the stories that I've been sent, some of you have gone to hell and back with a person and, you know, nobody deserves some stuff that their partner puts on them. But I think if you can eventually get to a place where you look at a past relationship, not as a mistake, but as something that happened for a reason. And even if something awful happened in it, it's propelled you to be a different person now, a better person, it's got you ready for things, it's put you on the right path. And I think if you can change that mindset, you can look at breakups differently and a lot more positively. Obviously, this shit takes time, but I do think it's a very helpful way of thinking, and also just about life in general. I remember reading a book before and it said that if something bad happens to you and you always see the positive, so for example, like if you miss a train, you can either react, oh my God, I've missed this train, this is awful, it's ruining my whole day, now I'm going to be late, now they're going to think I'm a piece of shit, now, and it can snowball. Or you can say, oh my God, this is a nightmare, I've missed this train, but at least I got time to go and get a coffee. At least I can sit down and answer my messages for 5 whilst I'm waiting for the next one. Like, if you can just think of any little positive after something, it's meant to be really good for your mindset. So you could say, like, I'm so devastated that I fell for that absolute piece of shit, but at least I've got some nice memories on a holiday together. Or at least I've got this lovely bag that he bought me. Or, if you go deeper, at least now I know how to spot red flags. I think that's always one of the best lessons you can get out of a relationship, is spotting red flags in the other person, but also in yourself. I've definitely noticed, like, over, the last year or two, things that I do that's not good. And I think when I was younger, I kind of couldn't really see that. Everything mostly was their fault. And I think now, as I've gone a bit older, I'm like, okay, actually the way I handle certain situations could probably be better. And I think that's like the best thing, if you can take those lessons. And also, as I've mentioned before, there's no way in hell I will be in a controlling relationship now. It will be quite the opposite, because I've been in more controlling relationships than I have regular ones. I don't know if regular is the right word to use, but best believe I know all the red flags in the book now for a controlling relationship. I know them all. I know the guilt trips for you going out. I know the comments, little comments like, oh my God, you're going to wear that? Yes, I am. Don't you dare make a comment. Yes, I am wearing it. So, there's always good lessons you can take from relationships. I saw a last quote actually earlier, and it said, by the way, you will meet the love of your life on a random Sunday and it'll feel like everything that led you both there was all fated. And I truly believe that, and I love that, because I believe that you can't see your path as you're going through it. As everything is happening to you, the good and the bad, you can't see your journey because you're just seeing what's right in front of you. But when you're able to stop and look above, you can see how everything has worked out and how everything has led you to a different stage in your life, and how it's all meant to be. And I absolutely love that mindset and that mentality. Like, when I met my ex, right, I moved back to London from Wales for lockdown in the April. I went on a first date in May. We were together, like, officially in the July. I started a new job in August. I started my podcast in the September. December, we moved in together. My best friend moved to America. Like, so much can happen, literally, where you just go on a first date and it can just change the trajectory of your life. Or you go to that job interview and it just changes everything. And I think that's like a really exciting thing, because I'm catching myself lately. Me and my friend have been doing it like, oh my God, we're in April, pretty much in May. It's pretty much the summer, and I'm pretty much the year's over. Like, I've caught myself this year, like, really writing the year off. And I don't know why, because usually so much happens within a year. I don't know if it's because this last year is probably one of the only years where, like, not much had changed. I kept the same job. I've lived in the same flat, which is quite rare for me. I usually tend to, like, move around loads. But I think, like, because not much has changed, I find myself, like, writing the year off, which is so silly because, like I've said before, things can just happen at the drop of a hat. You just never know when things are going to change. So, I live by myself, yeah. I think I told you before about when I heard the new neighbours next door making Sweet Sweet Love to me singing, deeply uncomfortable. As I was singing Trey songs, I could hear bed banging. And if I could hear them, I'm convinced that they could hear me. I'm now stuck with new neighbours upstairs, and there's a banging upstairs, and it's absolutely driving me insane. I've literally, like, envisioned getting some sort of mop, but I can't, and, like, hitting the ceiling, but I can't determine what the beat is. it surely can't be sex because it goes on for a long time. It also doesn't feel like music. So my guess is an exercise bike. And I just think if you're in a flat, don't have an exercise bike. Is that bold of me to say? Maybe. But for me, it's like it's the consistent beat. I'd rather a messed up beat, like a sporadic one, than a dun, 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 dun. The same one all the time. So yeah, that's not fun. Although my mother came to stay with me this weekend, I've realised that I really love hosting. I love having people over and, you know, getting snacks out for the night. And it really made me realise like how much I like that. But we went to Fortnum & Mason for afternoon tea. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram. I'm at Sadie Maltby if you want to come and check it out. But it was so lovely. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but I feel like since I've gone to my 30s, I've become acutely aware of how precious the time is with my parents. And every memory now that I have with them, every moment, I just cherish so much, to the point that when we were in Fortnum & Mason, when we got in there was a pianist and my mother plays the piano. So my mother started crying. We're a very emotional family. She starts crying at the piano and I'm like, oh my God, you're so silly. Then we sit down and then I start to tear up and I'm like, I just feel so lucky that we're here together. And it's like every memory, it's almost like I'm grieving the memory at the same time as experiencing it. I've really got to rein it in. When we went on the Orient Express, we cried for most of the night. We were quite drunk, but we were crying like, I can't believe this happened. And just like cherishing memories is something that's come with age. And it's a nice thing because it means that I'm like more present, more appreciative. But it's also a little bit depressing, and I'm trying to get out of it because I don't want to be crying at every memory I experience with my mother now. But it's just something that creeps up on you, I think, with age. Like you really realise how precious time is. Okay, I saw this on TikTok and I wanted to share it. It's a trend and it says, please share your most unhinged marriage hacks. And I'm not talking never go to bed angry. I'm talking the most truly wild and insane things that you've been too embarrassed to share until now. And I thought I could read some out. Also, I feel like these are good for just relationship hacks as well. I don't think they are specific just to marriage. They can be for relationships as well. Maybe we'll come out with some tips. So here we go. I tell him made up stories about things my friend's husband did and finish with, I'm so glad you don't do that. But they're all things he does that I don't like. He self-corrects. I'm sorry, that is absolutely genius. So he comes home, he takes his shoes off every day in the middle of the room and then he dumps his dirty washing on the bathroom floor, yeah? And he does it, maybe he's not thinking. And you say to him, oh my God, I met up with Clay earlier and she was on about her husband. Never puts his dirty washing in the basket. And I was just saying, like, I could not deal with that. And I'm so glad you didn't do that. Genius. It's like, what do they call it? Reverse psychology. She's reverse psychology in this bitch. Love that. Lisa was saying tonight how they never say goodnight. And Dave. So glad we don't get like that. I would hate it if you never said goodnight to me. After he doesn't say it one night, he'll say it again the whole time. Not embarrassing, but I buy gift cards occasionally. So every time he doesn't want to go out to eat, I say, oh, we have a gift card from Christmas. It works every time. Oh my God, it's amazing. I divorced him so he knows I mean business. In brackets, we remarried. Before long car rides, we have a pep talk to remind ourselves that we are not enemies. The children are our enemies. That's smart. I jokingly say things like, the dishes need doing and you need doing. I only have energy for one of these things. He does the dishes in record time. Love. We have scheduled arguments every 2 weeks. Bi-weekly beef. We bring up any and all complaints, everything from serious stuff to I did not appreciate how you farted last week. It's very effective. I like that because then you're not going to blow off the handle over stuff. You're also not bottling her in. You planned, okay, I'm going to come and bring this in 2 weeks. And then you've got a time where by then you'll be able to speak about it calmly. And you know you're going to be heard. And it's going to be like a mutual thing. I think that's really smart. I love that. I tell my husband to stop being my husband for a minute and be my best friend. Then I tell my best friend what my husband has been doing to piss me off, and he plays along as my best friend, talking shit about my husband. He corrects his own behaviour. Okay, I like that. I don't know if I could handle that, I'll be honest. But great if you can. My great-grandma would flip over their home sweet home sign when they were fighting over something. I love like the petty shit that people do in arguments. I've done that before as well, where like you can be starving and they say, do you want food? And you're like, no thanks. Even though you know full well that you want food. Or like he's meant to give you a lift somewhere, but you've argued and then you walk. And usually I've realised my petty things mostly just spite myself. But it's like little things. Or like, I don't know, imagine if I'd argued with somebody and I'd bought a cake, like would I be bitchy enough, depends how much you piss me off, to then like eat his cake as well, you know? Or like I brought him home chocolate and then I eat it in front of him in silence as we watch TV. What petty things do you guys do in arguments? I actually can't think of that many off the top of my head, but I feel like people do really funny ones. So yeah, please comment below or come and let me know what petty things you do or you've done in an argument. Rather than get mad at the other for not doing that thing you expect for them to just know to do, dishes for example, we place a stuffed elephant by the thing to point out the elephant in the room. Cute. Do you know what's really good? It's like if you can bring humour into an argument, I think it's the best thing. And I think I saw that on... I watched like, I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a marriage counselling show. I definitely spoke about it on here a few years ago, but I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, sorry. And she said the same thing, like the therapist said, like if you can laugh with each other, that's like the biggest indicator that you're still on the right path. Because if you get to a place where you're constantly arguing and there's no real joy and you can't joke with each other and it's just all very negative, that's a really, really bad sign. Like you can still argue with somebody and be pissed off with them, but I think like the biggest telltale for me, like if I can be with somebody, is actually like how you deal with arguments after them. And if you can just go and make a little joke and know it's going to be reciprocated well, or vice versa, like that's the best thing. Or like if you can argue with somebody and then be like, should we be friends now? And then like make it a bit of a laugh, that's good. Whereas if you are arguing with your partner and you can never resolve it and there's always like resentment that just keeps building, you can't have a joke with somebody, then it's just going to become miserable all the time. And I think when you get so used to being miserable around somebody, sometimes you almost don't want to laugh them because it almost feels like you're losing. I don't know if I've explained that right, but you know, like in the short term when you argue with somebody, like even if they make you laugh, sometimes, at least I won't want to laugh because I'll be like, I'm still annoyed at you. But a healthy way is to laugh and then be like, I am still upset, whatever. But if you're the type of person or the type of relationship where you never give in to that laugh because you always want to be like almost punishing them, that is not good. And then you're just constantly going to be miserable and you're never going to allow yourself to be happy around each other. But yeah, I definitely think that the way you argue with somebody is a really good measure of the relationship and if it can work. Oh my God, this is petty. When he makes me mad, I make his favourite meal, but I add mushrooms because he hates them. If we are giving each other the silent treatment, I hide something of his so he can ask me if I've seen it. That way, he's the first to talk. How? You bitches are clever. I'm definitely going to take some of these. We have a decision coin with our names that we flip when both of us don't care or whatever we can't come to a joint decision on, i.e. food. The name it lands on must make the choice. The coin is low. Excellent. My husband and I refer to our innermost illogical thoughts as lizard brain, so we can share insecurities or jealousy without judgment, i.e., lizard brain says you hate my haircut. Oh, I think that's really cute and actually like so healthy, because the worst thing is if you're feeling insecure and then you've got to tell your partner, like, I hate that shit. And I know it's healthy. I know it's what you need in a relationship, but do you ever really want to admit when something pisses you off and you feel insecure? I don't. I've got too much ego and too much pride. So that would be really good. Like, oh, I don't know, my big toe is not the same as lizard brain. That's just the first thing that came into my head. My big toe, like my devil big toe, tells me that you're in a mood with me. I like that because it takes it away from your feelings and makes it like not so scary, I suppose, and not so real. I think that's nice. You know, like people say you shouldn't say I'm angry, you should say I feel angry. That like gives me the same vibe. I like to say, you know what I love about you, and list the things I want him to be like. He believes he suddenly has these qualities and starts to build on them without question. It's magic. Okay, that's good. I almost do wonder, like, wouldn't they know these games, or are men just dum-dums? Which I do generally think they are. Apologies. I'm joking, am I? But I don't know, if somebody said to me, oh, I love it that you never shut me out after an argument. I love it that, you know, when you're annoyed, you always tell me straight away rather than going a bit quiet. I'm like, I know that when I'm annoyed with somebody, I go quiet. So if you were telling me that you love that I don't go quiet, I'm smart enough to know that you're lying. But I don't know, I suppose if they said like something that I maybe don't do that obviously, it could work. But I don't know. Okay, last one. Somebody said, we have a 5-second rule. You have 5 seconds after you say something you regret to say 5-second rule, and it's erased. It saved many arguments. Oh, you got to be very mentally strong for that one, because that is literally just choosing to not hear and not take on board what that person has said. And to do that couldn't be me. I'll be honest, when that shit's out in the world, in the air, in the ozone, unfortunately, it's in my heart and my soul. And if it's hurtful, it's going to take me a while to get over it. So yeah, tips there, guys, for successful marriages. If any of you are married or in long-term relationships, then yeah, come and let us know any hacks you have. Because we all need a little bit of help, I think. Sometimes relationships are a lot of work, aren't they? I actually revisited the other day because, you know, And Just Like That is the spin-off. It's not the spin-off, it's the new Sex and City, basically. I love Sex and City, live, laugh, love, till I die. I know every episode, I've seen it. I couldn't even tell you how many times. Obsessed, absolutely love it. It's my comfort show. I watch the same shows over and over again anyway, generally in films. Sex and City is probably like my number one most watched things. Even though now people, the woke generation, are like trying to give me Carrie slander, I don't care for it. It was a different time and I love it. Anyway, new And Just Like That is coming at the end of May, so I thought I would try and rewatch And Just Like That. Well, I got to the first episode. Big die-in. That effed me up so much. I watched that and I had no idea that he was going to die. And for the first 2 episodes, well, actually, no, I think in the second episode, you literally see him in a body bag in the back, which I was not prepared for. But for the until I saw that part, for the most of it, I literally thought it was like some sort of sick joke. When she's crying in the shower, sorry if this is a spoiler, but it's like about 4 years old now, 3 years old. She comes home. He's in the shower. He's had a heart attack. She's in the shower with him in the blue Manolo Blahnik wedding shows, iconic heels, holding him and crying. And I'm just like, there's no way that he's dead. I wasn't even upset really when I was watching it because I was like, there's no way he's died. And then she comes over and she says, and just like that, Dig died. And just like that, are you kidding me? Han, I'm going to need about 3 months worth of therapy to get over it. And just like that. Followed that story for 20 years, then he died in the first episode. Couldn't believe it, honestly. I revisited it. I actually don't think I can rewatch the series. I can rewatch Sex and City, but I don't think And Just Like That is something that I can rewatch. Anyway, just wanted to tell you. I don't know if they killed him out because, like, in real life, I think he was a bit problematic, which isn't everybody these days, guys. I honestly think as a woman, and I know I have male listeners, and I always say, my male listeners that listen to me, I know you're good guys because you're listening to a woman's podcast about dating, you're getting like women's perspective, women's stories. So I know if I've got straight male listeners, you're on our side. So you are not included in this. But you'll know from the stories that we get sent, and, you know, everything else that's going on in the world right now, it can be quite hard to like straight men. I said it. It can be a little bit difficult. And I went to watch a football match the other day. Man U versus Man City. Not a single goal was scored. I wouldn't even like to think how much money was spent on the players. They didn't score a single goal. I'm watching it like, if I was you, I would just put it in the back of the net. I don't really know what we're doing here for 94 minutes back and forth with not a single goal. That's another discussion. Anyway, I know that football fans are probably like on the furthest end of the spectrum of the straight man. But oh my God, they are horrible. The abuse that was shouted, right? I don't know if you've seen, I made a reel because Jack Grealish was warming up right in front of us. I didn't even think I liked Jack Grealish, but you just can't deny the size of those calves. I'm sorry. So naturally I'm following him, right? We had really good seats. He's so close to us, so obviously he can hear everyone. There's men behind me shouting, Jack, Jack. As he turns, they go, you fat nonce. For no good reason. He's not even old enough to be a nonce, I don't think. Well, he is, but you know what I mean. He's not fat. They're shouting it. They've probably had about 3 or 4 pints before they've started and a pie. And you're calling Jack Grealish fat? Doesn't even make sense. And then the abuse of Phil Foden's mother was actually disgusting. Everyone was screaming, Phil Foden, your mother's a slag. And I'm like, why? Why on earth? The word wanker, I love it as a swear word, but I never heard it thrown around so much. It just blows my mind how men are just so aggressive and it's just so unnecessary. And I'm looking around and I was thinking like, well, basically we came out, right? And one of them was like being arrested on the floor. And I was just like, have you got a girlfriend or a wife at home? Then now you've got to ring from the police station and be like, oh, sorry, love, can't come home tonight. Got to spend night in a cell just for like abusing somebody else over a football team. It seems so petty. And then on the other end of the spectrum, right, when my mother was up, we went to watch the choir? Is that weird? The choir of, how do I say? Choir. There you go. It's called the Choir of Men. I don't know how English people pronounce it. Probably choir, do they? I don't know. I say choir. I went to see something called the Choir of Men, random as, not really my scene. But they were also straight men and they were on the other end of the spectrum. They were theatre kids. One of them was tap dancing, for crying out loud. But it was almost like the whole thing was them in a pub drinking. I couldn't even make eye contact with them. As I'm meant to be watching them on stage, I just thought, I just can't deal with straight men at the minute. I don't know if straight ladies feel the same way, but it's a tough time, I think, at the minute. Okay, and I've got a story for us this week from one of you guys. And she says, colleagues, a lot of drama and stupidity in the workplace. Hi, Sadie, I hope you are well. I don't have a story about a man that's broken my heart, but I do have an experience to share about my old toxic workplace. When I started at my last job, there was a man already working there. Let's call him Steve. He instantly took a disliking to me and would gossip about me. He formed what I call a clique around him. A few people who I'd say were too scared to go against him and joined in their campaign against me. They made it awkward, laughed behind my back, and made me feel like I could not fit in. I hate that. And also, you're not in school, you're in a workplace. So the fact that that is still going on in an adult workplace is so disgusting and actually quite scary because that's the type of stuff that people should grow out of. I hate it that it's even a thing in school, but to think that full-blown adults could be doing that is just tragic, honestly, on their part. After 2 years, I got promoted and was able to move teams. This is when Steve's behaviour escalated. Okay, so Steve's jealous. He's definitely got a bit of jealousy there. You've come in extroverted, probably because you're female. Some people don't want to pull the card, but I am anyway. Some people hate to see a confident female around the place, and there I said it. He would publicly put down my work and copy managers into my emails. Don't be bringing CC. Do you know what that reminds me of? It's like you can't fight for yourself. It makes me literally want to go like that. Come on, I'll take it by myself. I don't need to be CCing in managers or colleagues. It shows that you're a bit of a baby, I think. Because let's deal with this one-on-one. If you're coming at me in email, let's deal with it one-on-one. Let's go outside. I'll have you in the kitchen. Okay, sorry. He would publicly put down my work and copy managers into my emails, nitpick at everything, and refuse to cooperate in meetings. It got to the point where my inbox was just full of emails from him. He even went as far to block my card access. Steve, hun, give her a break, is it? What are you doing in your everyday job if you're spending this much energy hurting somebody else? That's what I want to know, Steve. How have you got this much free time and energy to spend trying to put somebody else down? Why aren't you doing your job, you arsehole? The others in the clique, the others in the clique thought it was really funny. Mean girls. I had to seek mediation within the organisation, and thankfully this put a stop to most of the behaviour. It impacted my mental health, of course, as I was going through a tough breakup and my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is the thing, the bullies don't realise that you're making their life hell, full stop, yeah? You're making somebody's life hell by being a misery to them and giving them hassle every day. You've also got no idea how much shit they're going through outside of that. Not like people say, oh, be kind. That is really something I try to think, especially in London, right? Because when you're out on the London streets, on the tube, on the bus, people are so aggressive. And sometimes you just think, oh my God, you've just got no idea what type of day they're having at home. Before they're even on this tube, in this awful job, dealing with somebody. People just got no idea. It's really sad. Okay, she said, we then had a restructure and I went for a promotion, of which Steve was the recruiting manager. Oh God. I put my all into the interview, but a series of awkward questions put me off. They talked about mine and Steve's previous issues. The job went to a less qualified member of staff. Let's call her Kirsty. I got on so well with Kirsty. We spoke about Love Island, makeup, and she had 2 beautiful children. I even gave her moral support while she went through some postnatal issues and sought help when a manager was refusing a 1 hour earlier start so she could do the school run. Kirsty became my manager and I saw this as a silver lining as we got on. However, things started to turn bad very quickly when all my training got blocked. Steve was telling Kirsty to stop any type of career development. I need to know how Steve's got a job, because where's HR at this point? It's like a full-blown bully. The behaviour escalated and 2 other individuals, let's call them Jay and Karen, there was always going to be a Karen in there, were all plotting against me. Everything came to a head when Kirsty shouted at me in a one-to-one and also reprimanded me for moving the meeting, which was for a good reason, as there was a clash. I had enough, and Steve was quite brazen about his behaviour. He would give promotions to people who were in a clique, and he refused to deal with other wrongdoings. And then, like fate, the very university I wanted to go to had a vacancy in their ICT department. I went for it and I got the job. I couldn't believe my luck. And it sounds like you've worked hard for this. The fact you've even put up with it is more than I would have done, I'll be honest with you. I can't deal with bad stuff in workplace. I don't want to be there at the best of times. I certainly can't be there at the worst of times. I handed my notice in as soon as I could. However, I had logged and evidenced their behaviour. HR weren't so great because I was leaving, but I have heard since Steve has been blocked from managing recruitment, and it's been acknowledged that there was bullying and harassment in the department, even some reports of sexual harassment. There always is. I don't think you can be like just one type of bad person. I think when you're a bad enough person and you handle things in a certain way, then you're just bad all round. He's probably a racist. He's probably homophobic. Like, he's probably all of the bad things that you can think of in one. I'm 8 months into my new role and loving it. I have the most wonderful colleagues. However, last weekend I attended an event where some of my old colleagues were also going to. Most of them I'd gotten on with, but they proceeded to act like I wasn't there. When I spoke to colleagues who I used to work with, one of them, let's call him Derek, he wouldn't make eye contact at first, and it was so strange. He proceeded to tell me he saw my LinkedIn post and said, "You're doing well." Note, he never liked or commented on any posts. It's like when people say, "Oh yeah, you went there," and like, "Oh yeah, I saw all your photos. I scrolled through your carousel of 20 pictures." And you're like, "Oh, I didn't realise because you never liked or never commented." It's just odd. If you're going through 20 pictures, send a like. If you think I'm doing well, write it on there before, don't just like watch from afar. Anyway, I told him I was happy because I wasn't dealing with idiotic management. I told him that a lot of those people were bullies, in short. He told me that he thought I'd done a good job, and since leaving they had had severe problems he knew wouldn't have happened if I was there. But, he said, my face didn't fit. I was so shocked at his comment and I ended up just walking away. My ex-colleagues drank at another table and excluded me. I was so upset at the comment and behaviour, so I wrote a LinkedIn article about diversity and face not fitting. So wait, Derek, let's call him Derek, thinks that you did a good job, but basically the way you looked is what caused the issues there. That's so bad. I turned it into a positive article to help support people. I know Derek would have seen it, as it appears he watched my LinkedIn. Other ex-colleagues have been shocked at the comment. I just concluded that these types of people only want to spread negativity, and I know my new job is the right place for me. I have wonderful and supportive colleagues around me. Fate brought me to that job, I truly believe. I so believe this. It's like what we say about invisible string theory, and like even what I was saying earlier, like when you don't realise how something is working out for you. Like, you had to go to this job to get your new job. I saw one the other day saying, "What do you mean the butterfly effect?" Which is like another word for it, isn't it? What do you mean the butterfly effect isn't a real thing? If I hadn't met a man on Hinge, I would never have met his friend who then convinced me to go on a podcast where I met my now fiance. Like, it is wild. The butterfly effect, I just love that shit. And this is you as, and actually it's so fitting for this episode because you've taken something so negative and you've still managed to see the positive at the end of it and the lessons. And she said, "I just wanted to tell you about the horrid situation I endured for so long, and my advice is we don't need to put up with jobs that make us unhappy. Don't put up with a toxic workplace." Oh, hun, you are speaking my language now. You've probably picked up on it. I haven't had the best time in my jobs. I will say my current job is probably the happiest I've been in a job ever, maybe. I think mostly that is because I get to work from home a lot. Because I do struggle in the office every day. It gives me anxiety. There's no real reason for it. But if you're an OG listener, my last workplace, good Lord. Socially, amazing. Great people. Daily going into that job, I would cry all the time. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself because if you listen every week, you'd be sick of the stories. But I would never have got through that if I didn't have like my friends there, who I'm still friends with now. I would go over to my friend May's desk every day without fail, and we weren't allowed to talk. So it would be like sneaking over, like her desk was by the toilet. So my desk was here, right? I used to walk up here, go through the toilet, and it used to be like a long thing, and then I used to be able to come out the other side. So that's what I used to do. And I used to just sit by her desk and huddle down, and tears would just be like falling down. She'd be like, "What's happened?" I'd be like, I just can't. I just can't. And then one day I was crying so loudly. I was like, I've got to go in the cubicle, come in with me. And we were both like, she was in the toilet cubicle with me. Oh my God. And then it would be like, I would go to the toilet and then come out. Obviously, I would be gone for like 15 minutes. And then I get pulled in like, you take your phone to the bathroom. And I'm like, because I need to escape. You wouldn't let me have my phone on my desk. So yes, I'm taking my phone to the toilet and I'm going on TikTok for 15 minutes. Or yes, I'm taking my phone so that I can message my friend to come and meet me in the cubicle so I can cry to her for no good reason. And honestly, guys, like, I've been having these thoughts actually this week. Sometimes it comes over me and I'm like very, very aware that we only have one life. And sometimes it will literally hit me like a ton of bricks where I'm like, whoosh, wow, you've only got one life. You cannot spend it being unhappy. Like, you can't even waste a day of this life being unhappy and not making the most of it, because you've only got one and it's so numbered and we don't know when it's going to end. And those thoughts, like, they really motivating and happy, I feel. Like, they really like, wow, okay, I've got to do this. But also, like, they can be so scary and depressing, because then at the same time I'm like, okay, well, realistically I can't just quit my job because I need to pay rent and I need money to experience other things. And then like the reality comes, and then sometimes I can get into like a bit of a hole with it. I'm like, it's like an existential crisis. But I think ultimately, you know, if it's a job, a friendship, a relationship, like ultimately, you know, if someone's making you so unhappy every day, it is not worth it. And you can get out. You've got the power and the strength to get out of something that doesn't make you happy. And I think sometimes we hold on to things probably for a little bit longer than we should, because quitting is seen as such a bad thing. And you always want to feel like you've done your best at something, you know, like particularly for me, like I've never really left relationships that easy. I've always left them, which is a good thing. But I probably know I need to end it with this person. And then I probably let it go on for a bit longer than I should have, which you can't really regret, because you also have to do things when you're ready. But most of the time, you know when something just isn't serving you anymore. And you've just got to find the strength to act on it, because your gut's always right. And when you follow that and when you actually listen to it, it just opens up more doors and more opportunities. So yeah, I think that's a really nice story to end it on, guys. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you've got any stories you'd like to share, then please send them over to sadie@lovewhatluck.com, or come and DM me at Sadie Maltby. Or if you're watching on Spotify, YouTube, you can comment on the actual episode. If there's anything that you want to chat about from the episode, then yeah, just comment and let's discuss. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for listening, and I'll speak to you next week.